Thanks for listening to today's episode of Medical Device Global Market Access by Pure Global. Today we're tackling one of the most persistent challenges for device manufacturers: meeting the clinical evidence expectations under the European Union's Medical Device Regulation, or MDR, which has been in full application since May 26, 2021. The transition from the previous Medical Devices Directive, or MDD, was not just an update, it was a fundamental shift in philosophy, particularly concerning clinical data. One of the biggest pain points remains the question: how much data is enough? The MDR demands sufficient clinical evidence to prove a device's safety and performance, but this term is deliberately not quantified. The level of evidence required is directly proportional to the device's risk, class, and novelty. This is especially challenging for devices on the borderline between classifications, or for those undergoing incremental changes. What was once a minor modification requiring a simple letter to file now often demands a more robust clinical data set to justify the change to a notified body. This increased scrutiny has forced many teams to completely rewrite their clinical evaluation reports, known as CERs. A CER compliant with the old MDD is rarely sufficient for the MDR. The new regulation mandates a much tighter integration between the CER, the risk management file, post-market surveillance data, and any claims made in labeling or promotional materials. Notified bodies are meticulously checking for consistency across these documents. If a marketing brochure makes a performance claim, that claim must be explicitly supported by clinical data within the CER and reflected in the risk analysis. Another significant hurdle is the concept of equivalence. Under the MDD, claiming equivalence to a similar device already on the market was a common pathway. The MDR has made this route substantially more difficult. To claim equivalence now, manufacturers must demonstrate and document equivalence across technical, biological, and clinical characteristics in exhaustive detail. For many, especially those with legacy devices, generating new clinical data has become the only viable path forward. Finally, the MDR solidifies post-market clinical follow-up, or PMCF, as a continuous, living process. PMCF is no longer a task to be completed, but an ongoing activity to proactively collect and evaluate clinical data throughout the entire life cycle of the device. The goal is to continuously confirm the safety and performance and to detect emerging risks early. This means having a PMCF plan in place from the start and actively executing it. If navigating these complex requirements for global market access seems daunting, Pure Global can help. Please check the description for a link to our free AI tools and database. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.